In this video, I'm showing you how I use Firecrawl, an AI scripting tool, with n8n to fully automate a 20K subscriber newsletters. Instead of another generic how to scrape tutorial, like it's been done 1,000 times already, I'm teaching you how to use this knowledge to build tangible solutions that drive revenue for you and your clients. If you don't know me, I'm Rene, founder of Wingrow. I've built AI automation systems for over 100 clients in the past 3 years, and I taught hundreds of entrepreneurs about operations and automation. With that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, so first, to understand how we turn data that we scripted online into a fully automated newsletter that looks like this one here, that's made for 20,000 people, we need to understand what scraping is. If you're not familiar with what scraping is, it's basically the process of taking the information or the data online on a website or database or really anything, and then just extract the information and then transform it in the way that you want. Scraping on a website like this one, this is my website, involves basically, if I do inspector, taking all the HTML and the JavaScript from the web page, because into all those functions, there's the actual text, buttons, image that's in there, okay? And most modern websites have JavaScript protection. So the normal traditional way of doing just like a normal HTTP request to get all the text and information doesn't work on most modern websites, which is why a solution like Firecrawl, which is basically an AI that goes for you on the different websites, eliminates the JavaScript's protections in most cases and gets all the data for you in a way that's very readable that you can then reuse after in your workflows. This is why Firecrawl exists, basically, okay? This is a super useful software that's becoming super popular because it's so easy to use. And this software here basically allows you to do any kind of workflows you'd want with data that you can find online that don't necessarily have an API, okay? So if I wanted to get the data from my website, and maybe I want the AI to take the web page here and then also go into each of my case studies, go into those and basically give an assessment, well, basically Firecrawl can do that for you because it can crawl an entire website and then scrape the information for you, okay? So the first thing that we need to do to be able to build a newsletter like this was basically to determine, okay, what are the different news sources that we're having that we want to scrape on a daily basis, and more than a daily basis, we want to scrape every 4, 5, 6 hours. What are the RSS feeds? What are the other newsletters? That's the first step in anything that you want to scrape, okay? And then you have to determine what do you want to do with this package of information. In our case, the client came with us. He had a very set way of writing his newsletter, and it's based on today's news. And for him, doing that research every day would take a lot of time. So the first thing we did is automate that scraping, okay? And the workflow looks a little bit like that. So I'm not going to take the credit for this workflow here and how it looks. Actually, it's based on the template of another creator. So you're going to have this online as well. They're called a recap. What I did though was get all the different sources of information and different Reddit subreddits as well and blog posts, then modify the workflow so that it only filters for what I want. Then it scrapes the website, and then what we do is we have AI analyze if the article or the blog post is relevant for our use case, and then it goes into our database, okay? So if I show you real quick the database before we go into the scraping workflow itself, what we have is a database that looks just like this, where we have hundreds and hundreds of different articles that get posted every day. So every day we get about 50 plus articles that we can then reuse for our newsletter, okay? This workflow here, if I demonstrate, and then after that I'll go into the scraping nodes, is super easy to understand actually. Okay, something that you guys might want to do that's super popular, and I'm going to make another video for different use cases as well with this, is scraping subreddits, because there's a lot of people writing a lot of stuff on subreddits. So if I just modify the trigger here and I get let's say OpenAI subreddit, and then I execute the workflow, it's basically going to query the subreddit feed that we have, then get 50 plus items from it, so 50 plus posts. Then we have a filter. Then this is just some data transformation. And then what we do is here we're looking into our database if we already have this article in place. If we don't, we keep the non-duplicate, and then we go here into scraping URLs. Okay, so you're here for how to scrape things and how to do things. Basically, what I would advise you to do is for all the big workflows that you have that you want to be scraping, I would set up the scraping workflow into a sub workflow. So this is the node that you see here, scrape URL. This here calls the other workflow that we have right here, which is super simple, but this allows you to basically call the same scraping workflow for different main workflows. So instead of rebuilding the same thing over and over again, then you just call a sub workflow. This is being basically building modulable. So it's something that you need to do when you're building for yourself and for clients. This here gets the URLs basically, and it sends them to Firecrawl. So this is an HTTP request. This is not the Firecrawl node that you might have be used to see. The reason is that downloading this node when you're on the self-host community version is a little bit annoying. You have to contact an admin. We don't have to do that. We can simply use the API documentation that we have right here and just do an HTTP request. Okay, this is the same thing. If I go back into the workflow here, and then I go into an execution just to show you. Let's take this one, for example, maybe. Something that worked. Yes, okay. So we had an URL here that's about Sora. So there's a lot of things about Sora right now. And basically, let me show you the query, how it looks like. Okay, so this is how we query. We basically send Firecrawl requests on how to crawl stuff, and you can change this to what you want. Okay, to build those prompts, if you're not sure how to build JSON and you're not sure how to follow the API documentation, I'm going to show you how to do it inside Cloud in a moment. But basically for me, what I'm asking is I want to scrape the URL here, and this is dynamic because I receive many URLs at the same time. I want to have the markdown format, the raw HTMLs, and I want to have the links. Okay, so the type that I want as a return is a JSON format. Here's my prompt that I give Firecrawl AI. Basically, those are the instructions that I give it. And then here's the schema that I want Firecrawl to output the information into. So I have basically the main content. That's the thing I want on top. Here's a small description for the AI. And then I have the main content image URL. So in the case of scraping for articles, what I want is the content of the articles and any photos that I have inside the articles. I want this AI to also scrape the links of those photos because I want to be able to reuse those in my own newsletter. Okay. And there's going to be more than one image. So this is an array, for example. Okay. And a small description. Then I say that it's required to have the content and the main content image. And that's pretty much it. So the result is something like this. If I go into the JSON format here, let's actually do the schema like it was. So I get the markdown format, I get the HTML, and we're going to be mostly working with markdown because it's already format and most software understand markdown very easily. The raw HTML has a lot of different tags, and so if you paste this into other AI models, it's going to take a lot of tokens for no reason. So we always prefer working with the markdown format. Then we have some metadata. Doesn't interest us that much, but what interests us actually are the different links that we have that the AI gives us and the main content image, which is what we're going to be reusing for our own articles. Okay, so those links here are image that you actually saw and the newsletter itself. So those were all scraped. We didn't go on Google Image trying to search for them. Okay, so we get the data here. What it does in the main workflow is this sends back the data. We have a filter, and to prevent any scraping errors, we just say if there's no error, then you can continue. If there's an error, then stop there, because not every website can be scraped just yet, but Firecrawl does an amazing job at scraping most websites. Okay, and then when it continues, that's where we use AI just to evaluate, okay, based on the newsletter that we have and the content that you just scraped, and even though it comes from this subreddit, is this relevant for what we're trying to do? Yes, no. If it's not relevant, this is going to stop, and if it's relevant, it's going to continue, and then go and store this into the Supabase database that we have. And here's all the article. Okay, so to build a prompt like this, if you're not used to working with API documentation and you don't know what JSON is, You can always go in the documentation here, for example, look at how you're supposed to build a prompt itself. If you click on try it here, what's nice about Firecrawl is you can actually put your data on the left and say, okay, I want markdown. And this builds in real time the prompt that you're going to be using inside n8n, the HTTP request itself, okay? You can build it and then you can just copy and paste this. Another way of building this, if you're not sure, is that you can go into Claude right here and you can ask Claude to build you the JSONs that goes into this API call based on the parameters that you want. So here, just to save some time, I'm going to show you the first step I do for things I'm not sure about, okay? I'm going to say, can you build a prompt for Claude to make me a JSON for Firecrawl v2 API to scrape a web page and its components like the main content and the main image. So those are the things that I'm looking for. I need it to be a structured output in JSONs. I need the data basically to be in a structured way like this one, because this is super easy to use and our different n8n workflows, right? And then you just start it, and then what it's going to give you is a prompt that you can then give it to itself, and then you're going to be able to basically have that JSONs that you want. Okay, so prompt, here's it is. I'm just going to paste this again, make it so it scrapes article, it scrapes the main article content and the main image inside the articles. Let's see what it does. It's usually the steps that I use if the API documentation is too complex or like it's not clear or I'm having some issues. And here it is. So based on the information I gave, which was not that much, it's giving me, okay, format, markdown, HTML, this is what we want. Then it gives us different properties. So this is going to go for the title, headline, author's name, publication date, which is all useful stuff if you want it, but then you can also remove it if you just play with the JSON. So you could remove this portion here because you don't want it. Or this portion here, for example, okay? So this is how to get unstuck with AI. The results is that you can build some complex JSONs format like this, and it works for you. You don't have to know how to code yourself or like how to read the API documentation from scratch, okay? So this is pretty much it. What we do after, and this might be a different video, this is not the purpose of this video, this is just to show you a tangible thing that you can do with scraping, is we get all the different articles and then we go into our main workflows here, which looks like this. And again, I'm not going to take the credit for this. I've just modified a template that was given and basically made it so it works for the newsletter itself. But we take all the articles that we have and then we create a monster newsletter that looks just like this. Okay, so there's a lot of formatting in between, but what renders this possible is the fact that we're getting the data from internet about all the news from today on AI automatically without doing it. Okay, so another use case, and that's going to be the topic of another video in maybe 2 weeks, is how we at Wingrow, we find some job opportunities on things like Reddit by scraping Reddit every few hours and looking for posts. And then if we find something that's relevant to what we do, we automatically reply and then we get in touch with that person, okay? So that's gonna be another topic, but those are 2 use cases that are tangible about, scraping something. So if you liked the video, you found it informative, please like and subscribe. And also we have a free school group and the link is in the description. If you want to learn more about AI automations and operations, you can join, it's free. See you next week.